Welcome to Live with Greg, or Live with Greg, depending on semantics.
Here with Brook.
Hi.
Hi, Brook.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm pretty good for the end of the day.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
We'll see if it's fun.
So far.
All right. So I know you to be a creative.
A creative? Guess so. Yeah, creating my own world here within this.
Well, when I first met you, you were super immersed in the arts and...
That's right. Earth Circus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met you when I was in Earth Circus and doing theater work, and I've just, oh yeah, I know what happened to that girl. Oh my God.
She became a
you gotta
mom.
pay rent and buy gas and groceries and have a job.
Did becoming a mom shift that, or were you already shifting?
Actually, I went to college. And I wish I would have just stayed with Earth Circus. I don't advise going to college for everyone, anyway. Unless you're money bags. College is really expensive.
Yeah. What drew you to college? Like what?
I wanted to save the world. I wanted to. I studied urban ecology and environmental education, and I did a lot of volunteer work, and then I worked in the park as an intern, but I was a paid intern in Point Reyes National Seashore as a naturalist and habitat restoration teacher for kids around the bay after the Vision Fire. So we did habitat restoration in the burned area.
Where was the Vision Fire?
Mount Vision, Point Reyes.
Okay.
Inverness.
Okay.
In 1997.
Oh, wow.
Remember that?
No.
Oh, where were you?
I think I was in college.
Where?
San Francisco State.
You didn't. Okay, well, so some kids were having a fire, a campfire, and they didn't put it out all the way. They buried it, and it caught underground.
Wow.
And it burned 13,000 acres, and it was the first catastrophic fire we've had in a long time around here, and it burned a bunch of houses.
Wow. That kind of rings a bell. And so you were part of the reforestation and returning.
We didn't reforest. We supported the Bishop Pine Forest growth, and then we pulled non-natives. So we'd have the kids come out. We do a fire ecology walk, and then we would do a quadrat, which is like a quadrant that you put down, and then a transect, and we would count the number of native and non-native plants and learn plant identification with the babies, and then figure out what percentage was coming back native or non-native, and then they'd pull out the non-natives. Yeah.
So what do you think's the issue with non-natives?
Well, it depends on the non-native. I mean, forget-me-nots, kind of benign, but they also take up a lot of space in that, habitat of the dappled sunlight shade, where you could be getting other native plants in there, because they grow well they grow well because they're not, I don't know why exactly, they're all different, but they grow more prolifically than the natives, and they don't provide food for the natives, that for the most part. Sometimes they do, but not food for the endemic, the specific local area, which here it's important because we have a lot of microclimates and we have a lot of diversity. And if you have a plant that is turning into kind of like a monocrop, where you have you'll see a ton of forget-me-nots, or you see a ton of Scotch broom, which is really acidic, which actually makes it more prone to fire. Eucalyptus, super acidic, also makes the area more prone to fire, and it's super volatile. And so you have a lot of disturbance from the logging around and from habitat destruction, and these non-natives come in and they maybe are good for like fixing carbon and such, maybe ground cover, you know, keeping the soil moist, but they're not necessarily providing habitat, like as far as like food for animals, or the right kind of habitat. Like coyote brush is taking over, Douglas firs are taking over where the redwood forests were, and then the coyote brush is taking over too, and it's crowding up coastal prairie. And so there's just a lot less diversity in habitat for the critters.
So it's not just plants that become extinct, animals also.
Oh yeah,
fall
the animals that depend
yeah.
on them.
Are you involved with ecology and?
I couldn't afford to be, really, so I volunteer now. So I am involved with it. Like, I'm going to be doing a bear tracking study, my first time doing any kind of tracking, but going out for 4 days off trail looking for bears, tracking bears and collecting their poop. Because you can tell a lot from poop. You can tell, you know, male, female hormones if they're in heat, or, you know, you can tell by the food that they've eaten where they've come from and their migration pattern.
Very cool.
So we're going to collect it, hopefully, and send it off to the Davis DNA lab, and hopefully learn more about the black bears to be able to support them in their migrations and urban sprawl and habitat loss.
So you have a 9-year-old daughter?
She's 10 and a half.
Is she 10 and a half now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's going to make
She's 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
She's starting 5th grade, and she's extremely beyond her years. Everybody says that, but she really is. I mean, she's still very immature.
Well, she's your daughter, so you're going to say that to a degree.
But she's doesn't really act like a 5th grader. She acts more like a 7th grader.
And is there anything that you're aware of that's even just so profound that it's surfaced in a way like you don't have to think twice, where that changed your life in becoming a mom?
Well, I learned that people have really archaic views of what it means to be community and parenting in our society. I think outside the box. I'm a real free spirit. I don't really care what other people think, and I'm unconventional. And so I learned that about myself through all this, and I learned to welcome it and be proud of it. And I had to weather a lot of judgment and lack of support in Marin County as far as just being able to find a place to live. You know, there's a lot of prejudice. A lot of prejudice in this county.
In White Marin?
In more ways than one, not just racial.
Right. So as a single mom, you found that doors were not opening for you to rent and have a place for you and your daughter.
Yeah.
Really, that's pretty ugly.
But it's super ugly. But the thing is, I had a place, I had a boat, and it was potentially a great situation, but not in a great area. And it was a low-income area in Marin, of which each town is supposed to have one low-income area, and then the county is supposed to provide some. Well, these folks in Sausalito and the unincorporated there, they've taken over all of that, and they're not really managing it properly. So it's really irritating. And so I had an opportunity, and I decided to jump ship because I just felt like it was too much of an uphill battle to deal with folks who weren't being responsible about money granted to them, and the money that they charged me, you know, which was illegal. And it was just this weird situation. So I sold my boat. And when I did that, it happened to be the time where Larry Ellison was having his America's Cup, and Airbnb moved in at the same time. It was like this big launch. And Facebook, and Google was already here, but Facebook was also moving into the city. And rents went up literally like 50% in a year. Just boom, and vacancies were fewer because Airbnbs were sprouting up everywhere. It was all the rage. Still is. Yeah, so that was tough. And so then everybody is thinking, oh, well, I can charge a bunch now because, you know, my shitty, broken down, dilapidated backyard garage is worth $2,000. I don't have to do anything. Maybe 17 for that, but back like 5 years ago.
I do know you to be a free spirit and a strong woman. And are there things you consciously are doing as a mom to support that in your daughter?
Oh, no, not really. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've always been conscious. I was active against factory farming and nuclear. What do you call them? Building new nuclear reactors and such when I was 13 years old. So I've always wanted to help and always been passionate about it. So I think just by being authentic and having an open dialogue about things that are important to me, and sharing with her and getting her to share and just helping her to develop her own authenticity. That's mostly the way I parent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think kids really need an outlet to express how they're feeling, whether they're feeling horrible or happy, you know, if they feel angry or whatever it is, to just be able to express that. Yeah.
So how do you deal with her expressing anger?
Well, that's a dance. Right?
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Is she angry about... I mean, she couldn't have chocolate milk one day, so she got really angry and she got into my car and she was in the seat. She put her feet on the windshield and she was so mad. She did that thing where you push your feet against the windshield and against the seat and she cracked the windshield. And I didn't get mad at her, but I brought it up a whole bunch and it was annoying for her that I brought it up. And so she felt really, really bad. But I think the fact that I didn't go off on her helped her to trust me more. But I also kept bringing it up.
Which eroded the trust.
No, which just made her realize, like, God, that was a real pain in the ass.
Right.
And it cost me a lot of money. And here I have to work. I'm gone these 3 days to pay for the windshield you broke. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's good to show the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
That's a very teaching thing.
Hopefully.
Do you get wrapped up much in like what's spoken of often in the chaos of our society right now as, you know, United States society?
Well, we're all wrapped up in it. I mean, I don't dwell on it. I try to sidestep any direct conversation about it unless it's productive or just a few, like sharing for a few minutes with a friend just to connect. But I don't spend hours doing research on it. I don't listen to the news. I have a nice Facebook feed that tells me what I want, you know.
Touché.
I get what I need though, you know, like I'm aware. My brother, he just moved to Thailand. He was working for the Pentagon and he was in securities. He was a government contractor and he'd go out and he'd find startups in technology that the military may want to acquire to fund the startup and then they get to use the technology. So he was doing that for a long time, but he was moonlighting doing some kind of like trading currency. I don't know exactly, global currencies. I'm not sure, but he's doing really well. So he quit his job and he moved to Thailand. And he, back in his earlier career, was a Marine. And he then went to the Postgraduate Naval Academy in Monterey and learned Farsi and went to Egypt for a year and worked. He also went to Afghanistan. And so he got all this experience and made all these connections. And he is currently trying to get 3 families out of Afghanistan to stay in his house in Virginia while he's in Thailand. And he actually showed me a text directly from them on the ground to sort of share with me the realness of it. And I thought that was pretty, felt very fortunate to be able to read that and have that connection, because even though I'm not personally doing anything, I feel like I'm really proud of him that he's actually able to and trying to help. So that kind of stuff, yes, yeah, it's especially because it hits home, you know. There's a direct connection. But as far as like the TRU thing and and even like the BID thing, I just it's such a SHI show.
Yeah. So how much do you involve, like, with the knowledge that you
I'm
receive?
definitely going to vote no on the recall.
All right.
I'm involved that way.
Yeah.
I voted for Elizabeth Warren, and I voted for Biden. My first choice.
Yeah. Do you share, like, with what your brother shared with you? Do you share that with Pearl?
I didn't. No, I haven't shared too much because on top of it, her cousin has to go back to the Philippines. My brother had an adopted son. He got a divorce from a woman who's Filipino, and her sister owns the orphanage in the Philippines, and because they're divorcing, his son has to go back to the Philippines. But his ex-wife's sister adopted him, so it's all in the family, and I think that's part of the reason he's moving to Thailand, to be closer.
Closer, yeah.
Because that's still his son, is his benefactor and his friend. It's all complicated. But that's Pearl's cousin, and she loves him to pieces, and there's just a lot going on, so I have to be careful how much I don't want to drop bombs.
Right, yeah.
So she knows a little bit about it, because I think it's important for her to know that. But in detail, she doesn't quite understand the magnitude of it.
Do you think you lean more towards informing her from her own curiosity? So letting her questions determine what you're sharing?
Sort of, yeah. But also, if there's something that comes up like that, if a child over in Afghanistan has to leave the country, they're not sheltered from it. They know exactly what's going on, and they're like 5 years old.
Right.
And I feel like we shelter our kids too much, and because we're afraid of what's happening, or we're afraid that's going to happen to us, or it's like a virus or something. But I think if you share it with love, and like, oh, we need to help each other, and this happens here, and we're so fortunate here, that's why it's important maybe just to like be grateful and hold the space for others who need it. Coming from that angle, I think that kids are super resilient, and that they can process that heavy stuff better when they're younger into their older years than if they just learn about it when they're older, and then they get all angry, and then they use all of their anger, they project all of it. They're like, see, you're fucking up the world. Look what you did to me. This sucks. The world's fucked. Slam the door.
Turn up their music. So it sounds
Skate
like
down Mount Tam at 500 miles an hour.
drugs, yeah, all sorts of good stuff. So it sounds like you have a positive outlook on life overall.
Yeah, right now, for sure. I'm so grateful. I feel like a princess, totally. And we don't have a lot. We live on 6 acres and we're in a trailer, but I trade my rent for feeding these 2 amazing horses, these fjord ponies they're Norwegian. They look like zebras. They're related to zebras, and they're awesome. And I've been doing that for almost 5 years now. And it's afforded us a life. I mean, I can save money, and I can take my mom to Mexico, and I can take Pearl on road trips, and can afford stuff, which if I lived in Marin and I was paying $2,000 a month, we wouldn't be able to do anything.
Well, so your whole rent is taking care of these 2 horses?
Yeah, it used to be 3, and it used to be geese and chickens, turkeys. Now it's occasionally geese and chickens and the horses every day. So it's an everyday thing.
Do you guys get fresh eggs? Do you get fresh eggs?
Oh, well, I probably could. I should, because eggs are so expensive and we eat a lot of them. I'm not used to them yet. They're COVID chickens. And
What's that mean?
they're from Germany. Well, she's like, oh, the whole COVID thing. Everybody was like trying to get something to focus on, like a project.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
So there are these special chickens, heirloom chickens from Germany, and they're pretty cool. But I've got they brought me 6 eggs, and I think if I wanted to go get more, I could. My landlords are really funny. They're eccentric and they're a bit disorganized, but they're super awesome. And they're highly educated and very artistic, and just living la vida. They're just having a good time in their late 70s.
Are they part of your life? Like, is Pearl?
No.
They're just
friends.
All right.
Yeah.
They're your landlords over there.
They're just so cool.
Is cool.
They don't complain about anything except if I take all the Santa Rosa plums off the tree.
Because you tried that once and
it was really stupid. I don't know what got into me.
did you make jam? A lot of plums.
They were so good. And I blamed it on my mom.
Oh, you threw your mom under the bus?
She let me. She's like, you can blame it on me because she doesn't live there. And we just said, oh, well, she didn't know, and she thought they were just the end of the harvest. And
oh, dear. Oh, dear. That was very kind to your mom. Well, that's pretty cool. So Pearl, it sounds like you have a good relationship with your mom.
That is very interesting.
Do tell.
Really?
Yeah. Bring a tear to your eye.
I have worked very hard on my allergic reaction to my mom. I literally used to just break into like a panic attack when I would talk to her. And I don't anymore. And I've nurtured her relationship with my daughter because it's like the only solid grandparent she has. Both grandpas are dead and then the other grandma's off. And so I've really learned to put I did so much work on myself so that I could make sure that Pearl and my mom have a really good relationship. Or whatever relationship they'll have, naturally.
Right.
Just the opportunity for that.
The relationship's there for them.
And so, I've learned how to manage my mom.
What does that mean?
Learned how to manage the energy. Call her Voodoo Mama.
Oh, so what's managing?
Well, I had an extremely, extremely traumatic childhood. Like, you might be really surprised. Most people, it's not along the lines of any kind of, what is it? I don't know what normal abusive is, but my dad was really, really a psychopath, and my mom left me with him for 4 years. And my mom was has a bit of disassociation and compartmentalizes things and just. Well, she left me to sleep on a park bench when I was 13, right? When she could have come to pick me up, like a 10-minute drive. That's an example of the kind of stuff. And then I moved out when I was 14 because she couldn't deal. And then I moved out again when I was 16 because I didn't really move out. I stayed with a friend when I was 13. And then, do you remember Alex Coffeen?
Rings a bell.
Yeah, anyway, so we lived together from 14 to 16. He was a bit older. It's really young, but we were each other's family. And she just wasn't around. And then I left home when I was 16. And we just haven't, she really did not pull through as mom. But here we are. After I had Pearl, she really had the opportunity to kind of relive what it was to be nurturing.
Oh, wow.
So that's nice for her.
Yeah.
And it's nice for me because I get some extra time, which is, good, healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point because what I'm hearing is your mom is today someone you trust your daughter with alone. Like you don't have to be there.
Yeah, well, I'm always on pins and needles of how my daughter's going to be when I pick her up. Because she can be a bit wigged out after hanging out with her. But that's, that's just kind of normal, right? I mean,
knock on wood.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of violence and a lot of invasiveness in my childhood, up until, and then I moved to Mill Valley from Truckersville, Oregon, foothills of Mount Hood. We were super poor. We lived a mile down a dirt road on 40 acres. And there was never food in the house. My dad was hardly ever home. And all of my friends' parents were like truckers or farmers or, whatnot. And I moved away one weekend, and I didn't know that I'd never be coming back. And I didn't see my dad after that, which is probably a good thing. And I moved to Mill Valley, which was totally weird. It was such culture shock to move to Mill Valley from that place. And my mom had a job at Esprit. That's how she got here. She from Portland.
Oh, wow.
She worked at Nike, and she got a job at Esprit. And she was just so removed and critical. And I never had breakfast, lunch, or dinner with her. She was constantly nagging and just was never ever like helped me with my homework, asked me about school. We had no connection. It was just basically like, here's your room. My bed was on the floor for a long time because no one would help me put it together.
How did you consciously make the choice to heal that relationship, your relationship with your mom?
I'm a very spiritual person, and I think I'm not perfect and I make mistakes, but I try to learn from those mistakes, and I want the best, I don't feel good if a relationship is in a bad way. That just feels icky to me. And so whatever I can do to harmonize it, I'll do that if there's an opportunity. Holding grudges to me is creating illness. So, and it's deep. Because really then we really have to do some soul searching and see where you're hanging on, and what are you doing, and how can, really all you can do is change yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Or work with yourself. And so I think, my mom is so good at being manipulative, and she's the one who did everything right, and she's the one that makes all the right, and she's the one that good. I finally realized what a crock of shit that was, and I was always trying to please her, right? I was always feeling like, okay,
I'm shit.
I'm a piece of shit. Fine, no, okay. Tell me what to do. But then I realized that I just saw her for who she was, and then I was terrified of her. Literally, I was terrified of her. I would have physical reactions hearing her voice. But she's all I really had as family. That's it. And my brother and I didn't get along until he got his own kids, until he was able to adopt his kids. Was the first time where he started really giving me the time of day.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was fabricated by my parents, that relationship between us. And I realized that. So I'm able to forgive him for, the things that he did to me. And he really, when I was 4 months pregnant, he told me I was imposing serious financial implications and moral obligations onto society by having this child. That's when I was 4 months pregnant.
That sounds very military.
And I told him he should take a mirror up on that high horse of his so he could look at himself, because it's not that perfect.
Yeah.
That was really jerky. But that's the kind of stuff that goes on in my family that's fabricated. Right?
And
by unhappy people. By mom and dad unhappy, pitting against each other, jealousy, manipulate, just icky,
garbage, right?
Garbage, totally.
Right.
So, and then when Pearl was 2.5 years old, my brother told me that I had obliterated the last 20 years of his life. I never got a card from him, for her, never got any Christmas or birthday presents, nothing for Pearl, until she was 7 and until he got his own kids. Adopted his
And
kids.
that's when, like,
And then he
his
started. Then he
empathy
sent her
was
the
able
first
to
Christmas
open.
present. She's like, "Whoa, who's this guy?"
My brother, that's your uncle.
Yeah, that was weird.
That is interesting. And it is interesting going through a divorce, I think, even in the best of situations.
Well, it's been a few. Yeah, so that was 3 years ago that he got his kids. So lots happened with him, and
I imagine his view on the world is a lot different than what it was 10 years ago.
no, he
No?
hasn't changed.
Really?
No, he's extremely bright, extremely driven to jump into the heart of trouble and be the hero.
But he's also someone who now thinks, oh, Christmas, I have a niece.
I think he always wanted to be. That was always in him, but he was just overcome with jealousy and sadness because he couldn't have a child because his wife was 8 years older than him, and she said she wanted to have a child, and then by the time she didn't, and then by the time she was willing to try, she was older, so it didn't really work out. Yeah.
Wow.
But so there was a whole lot of jealousy involved with that.
So you've healed your relationship with your brother as well.
I just have really been taking the high road with all of it. Yeah.
I'm interested personally in the process of forgiveness in that road.
Well, I've paid people to help me with energetic healing.
What is
And I
energetic
work
healing
working.
like?
Well, it's like emotional clearing, you know, like okay, I'm feeling this way. It's real. I'm physically feeling this way. I'm getting sick from it. My mind keeps going in the same loop. So finding what bothers you the most and just sitting with it with a person who can sit with you, and there's no words, but this person's extremely talented with being able to balance out all your body systems while you're thinking of this thing that's just making you go and so that's the type of emotional clearing that I do, and it's super effective, and it's unusual, and there aren't a lot of people who can do that effectively, but I've found what works for me. But I really searched for it, and it's not easy. I mean, it's hard work.
Do you incorporate that into your own body work and healing that you do now for other people?
I have been reported to do more than just massage as far as, something spiritual shifts inside my clients, and I've been told that quite a few times.
Neil expressed to me that you were working on him and he had this thing going on with his leg and this pain going on in a different part of his body. And you said, oh, and you shifted his leg, and he said it was gone.
Really?
Yeah, like back pain, I think even. Like he was complaining about back pain, and you went, oh, look at this, and you just, it had to do with his hip.
Oh, well, maybe. That's mechanical, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's an intuition.
Well, so it's funny because I realize I go into a trance when I do body work, and I've worked on thousands of people, and I think just always I've learned different modalities, but I blend them, and so I feel like I do have a direct connection to the divine, and that is what keeps me going. And I can't explain it. I don't believe in God, but I got certified as a Kundalini yoga teacher, and what they define God as, they're big on the God thing. Generator, organizer, destroyer, right? Like Kali.
Kali.
Yeah, exactly.
I
right?
love Kali.
Yeah. So, like whether it has its own soul or not. I mean, I think that we're all collectively together, and we are like one thing that just has many moving parts, right? And so, like, it makes sense to me, the power of prayer or whatnot with many people to shift a consciousness. That all makes a lot of sense to me, and to me, that's God.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I also believe in angels. I believe in interdimensional beings and different energies, and it runs in my family to be able to see see those energies, and I can hear them as well, and I can communicate with the other side. Like I've gotten names of deceased that were right on, and I've had conversations with those on the other side, including David Aronson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Bless
Every
his
now
heart.
and
I
then.
talk to him all the time. And you know, some people like just talk to him, but I've studied it, and I've trained with really advanced mediums, and so I know I have a lot of faith that my conversation is real. Maybe it's not, but that's the kind of energy I work with when I work with people. Is working with their angels, you know, higher vibrational beings, and you know, just also like with Reiki, you're using universal life force. So being able to just channel that just incredibly powerful energy that we all have access to, you know, letting that go where it needs to, being kind of a conduit for that.
How do you think that works in the cycle of life in birth, death, especially because you and I, before this started, were talking a little bit about aging. And so here's this infinite life force.
Yeah. Well, so that all starts, so yeah, disease starts in the subtle bodies, right?
I don't know, what's the subtle body?
Well, like your aura, for instance. Right?
That's where disease, so
Yeah.
it's not physical first.
No, because what comes in, so the mind exists outside of the body, and we basically react to what is there, right? And so by the time it comes to us, you know, it's already sort of a consciousness, whatever, coming through, and then we react to it. So how we react to it determines, you know, the energy that's cycling through our body. So if you react to something and let it roll off, you know, your body's not going to go into fight or flight. You're not going to, you know, emit a bunch of cortisone and all this stuff that, you know, creates the aging process, speeds it up. So if you're able to react to the mind outside of you in a more neutral way, that right there slows down aging tremendously.
I think we're about to be interrupted, possibly.
Okay.
All right.
Kind of all over the place anyway.
No, but now like, we just hit one of the veins that I love. And like, so, because with what you just shared about your youth, and
I could share a lot more.
Do you want to share a lot more?
Do you want some gritty, gutty, gory stuff?
I don't know if it's appropriate. Like,
Exactly.
what's it serve? It's more important to me to know.
Well, what it serves is that you ask questions and you want to know more, and you feel like there's more, but how deep do you want to go? Like, what do you really want to know? You know what I mean? Because
here's what's important to me. That this person who's your mom this time around,
yeah,
that you now
Bless her
have what
she's an amazing person. She really is amazing.
Right. And so for you to say that honestly and unequivocally with depth and roots to that statement, from what I've heard 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have said that. You break out in hives when you have
No, that was more recent. That was
well.
after I had my daughter. Hello.
Sorry, we gotta bring stuff in.
That's-
Is that okay?
No, we're doing a podcast.
Okay.
Can you just set it there and I'll help you bring it in?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. That's Kayla. That's
Hi.
Brooke. That's Candy's eldest granddaughter who lives
cute.
here.
Oh, sweet. It's nice.
So with what
Healing the relationship with the mother, the divine mother, that's where it started for me. Neil was helpful with that.
wow,
He's so, you know, Neil.
I sure do.
Yeah. So he's been a huge spiritual support for me since Pearl was little. He's just so awesome, you know? So, I am on my own journey here with this, but then to hear some positive perspective from someone else who I know really gets it, you know, having a sense of community and like-minded others really helps, and being able to reach out for it, so for me, I was able to finally talk about, like I was able to be in touch to get my identity back. I was classified as having an identity crisis when I was pretty young, which was true.
It makes sense. You want out.
Whatever, you just,
That's the best thing.
when intense things happen as a kid, you feel you feel
Okay, hold on.
you kind of shut down who you are. Like you put up a veil, or you put up a screen or a wall, and you're just basically on what do you call it? Not hibernation, but conserving your energy, basically. In that fight or flight, in that really terrified place. Kids just go out. I mean, they leave their bodies and don't always come back all the way, right? Because it's not safe. And so that is the beginning of an identity crisis, which happens with kids who've gone through a lot of really abusive experiences, or somebody when they're older as well. So, so that was really nice for me to have somebody actually say that to me,
And that was Neil who said that?
No, that was a therapist. That was the thing. No, and Neil never said that. But realizing that that's what was going on. And so sort of being able to look at it from a more positive perspective and go, oh, I need to get to know myself again, or I need to protect, learning, being able to ask the right questions, draw on the right people to create a space where you can actually learn who you are again, where you can actually be able to trust people again, and actually learn how to set boundaries and create a good life for yourself, rather than continually drawing in that old garbage that you weren't even drawing in. It's just what happened to you, right?
Do you think
Stepping out of the victim role and taking responsibility for your life now. Or just go ahead and slit your wrist, right? Okay, you can just sit there and cry and create more problems, or you can take responsibility and do what you can for yourself. Yeah.
Do you think it's plausible that you could have a healthy relationship with your real father this time around?
He's passed over.
So no. Well,
no, I've done a tremendous amount. In fact, I don't think I could have done the healing I did have done if he'd been here. So when he passed, he had cancer, and I went to the hospital. He slipped into a coma 10 minutes after I got there, and he was on oxygen in a coma, and he was supposed to go to hospice the next day. And my brother and I were in the hospital room. He was 52, and my brother, he's all, I'm gonna go to a meeting. Don't let him take his mask off. I was like, he's like, don't, you make sure he stays alive. I was just like, I fell asleep for like 10 minutes, and I dreamt that I was blowing out this tunnel of smoke. And then I looked at the hospital doors and I ran through them, and there was this bright light, and I said, somebody get the zappers.
Somebody get
The zappers.
Okay.
And I woke up, and he had
Passed.
he had managed to take his mask off and
Oh,
pass.
wow.
So that was a really amazing experience. And when I think back on it, very healing. It's empowering for me that I was able to be the one to hold the space for him, because I think otherwise he would have gone the left door, right? Like just the shit house. I think I helped him
Go to the light.
go to a better place.
Yeah.
So that feels really good, but it took a lot. I was actually afraid of him still after he passed. Didn't want to be alone. I told my mom a few months later, I said, I still feel so awful that, he died. She's all, he was a horrible man, get over it. And hung up the phone on me. I'm just like, really going through a tough time. But I worked through it. I was able to work through it. This is a man who put a pistol to my head when I was 7 years old,
Wow.
thinking that I was an intruder.
Out of like psychosis?
Yeah, obviously.
Well, like it could have been dark and he didn't know it was you. But what you're saying is...
That's pretty paranoid.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole Pandora's box of chaos.
But I kept that's just one thing.
Right.
Okay, one, and there are a lot of others. But I kept that inside. I didn't tell anybody until he passed away. I didn't remember that until he had passed away. All this stuff came up after he passed away. I was so terrified, and I didn't know why. And so it's when I started to see a therapist, and I even had a therapist tell me that my story was too much for her, and that I needed to see someone else.
Ooh.
She didn't give me a referral. I know.
You're drowning. I can't help
that
you, and I'm walking
irresponsible?
away. That seems a little.
Talk about that. So when I was 10, when I moved here from Oregon, I was in my new house in Mill Valley. I was sleeping on the floor. I had fallen asleep. I was like 11, and my mom came in, and she had just been. I guess she'd already went to bed early, but she came in her nightgown. She's all, "I just had a scary dream about you. I dreamt that you were drowning, and I reached in to help you, but my finger stuck in your eye and it was all mushy."
Sweet dreams.
Right?
Good night.
Right. So just wackadoodle. Right?
So how do you think it was that instead of being engulfed in this madness and darkness, you climbed out and found yourself to a place of light?
I can only attribute that to having a faith in something bigger than myself that is good. Because anytime where I have become existential, I have lost it. You know?
What do you mean by existential?
Just to the point where I don't believe, where there is no, spiritual, how did you describe it? To me, existential is there's nothing spiritual about it. It's just like we're just reorganizing molecules. And when I thought of life that way, in my life, I didn't want to be here. I just didn't. I didn't see any purpose at all. And so I think I've just always had a really strong connection with angels. I have a sixth sense. I'm able to see and feel and hear other stuff from other places, and I think I just knew that intuitively as a kid. I didn't really think about it. It's just something that held me. It's something that protected me. So whether it's like a creation for me just to survive, maybe it is. But anytime that I felt separated from something greater than myself, of like a spiritual nature, I just wanted to throw in the towel.
So you've had those periods of your life?
Oh yeah. Yeah, more than once.
Dark night of the soul. Like, have you ever been
yeah.
at a place where you seriously thought of going to the bridge and jumping? Not.
I wouldn't do that,
literally.
but like, yeah, something. Yeah.
You contemplated ending it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm not really afraid of death. I don't want to be in pain, and I don't want it to be prolonged. But I'm not afraid of death, and I think that's why. But I also think because I have such a strong connection, I knew that I couldn't do that, because there was something for me there. Like, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice by doing that. So I never went completely insane, I guess. Right?
Except being here is insane in itself. So, we're all crazy in this madhouse.
So if you're not going to go completely insane, you have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You have to stop playing the victim, even if you don't think you are. You really have to question, okay, what are my motives? What are my intentions? Where am I coming from? Because otherwise, that's a disservice as well, right? So.
Do you think you do that with Pearl just as a part of daily life? Like, teach her to be self-responsible?
Yeah, well, I mean, I am. She sees what I do, but I think she feels a little bit slighted, because her dad's not in the picture, and she sees me work so hard. But I have things worked out really great, and I think she knows that, but she's really stubborn about it. And for a long time, she was really mad at me for going to work, and I was also taking classes towards nursing and working, and she was feeling just what do you call it? I'm totally blanking on the word.
Like
bitter, just shortchanged. Like, I should be there for her all the time, 24/7. I should be a stay-at-home mom, like she learned about on the Sesame Street, or you know.
Do you guys have a TV?
No. No, but you get it. Like, and, you know, we live in an affluent community, and she, you know, a lot of our friends do, or the moms do stay with the kids, you know, and dad goes to work. And so she's seen that, but she also at this point has seen that that's not much better. You know, now she's starting to get that she is pretty lucky in her life with her freedoms, and that she, I don't know. I mean, she's getting there. She still feels like everybody has more than her, and everybody gets to have a PS4, and everybody gets to have a little play. What are those little miniature video game things?
Like
gaming
an iPad?
things.
Or the Switch? I don't know.
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Big, huge, all the time. That's all she wants is a Nintendo Switch, and everybody else has it. Everybody else has an iPhone. You know, so she's definitely just like a regular kid, but she's really intense about all that stuff. She really loves stuff. So for me, it's calling her bluff and like realizing, oh, she really does like stuff. She's not just doing that to play games. Right? She really, really does like this stuff. So learning how to kind of manage that and, you know, put forth what's appropriate and put the brakes on what's not.
Well, like part of, I think, being a good parent is accepting we'll never be a great parent. Like the perfect parent. We're human.
Oh, yeah, I don't
Like
even think about that.
You don't even go there.
No.
That's good.
No.
That's good.
But we're super fortunate for what we have in our little family,
Yeah.
you know, and so we have 3 generations of women, you know, Pearl, me, and my mom, and we're a unit.
Does your mom live with you?
No, but she practically does. I mean, she lives down the street, like 10
Okay.
minutes. But she followed us here. She needs us, and it's useful to have her around. But I would rather see her like once a month.
Where's that
But I
statement
do.
come from?
Because it's just a little too much for me. Like it takes a lot of energy, you know. I lose my focus around her sometimes because it's draining. So I'm learning how to be stronger around that. But I also just think that by nature it would be better for not to spend so much time.
So how do you think this?
But it's
trip
really
to
nice.
Mexico-
It's nice that I have some. Like right now, I can do this. So.
Right. And the trip to Mexico, are you doing anything to?
I'm really excited to be able to offer that to her, but it is going to be, hopefully, if she gets enough rest and she can put her worries aside, we can have a good time. But she gets a little bit, uptight and stuff, so it might, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm really wanting to do this for her. And for Pearl, I think it'll be really great. We're going to go down for the Day of the Dead parades, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
And it'll be our first vacation together.
You flying down?
Yeah.
And then renting a car at the
In a
airport?
4-wheel drive, yeah.
Be cool.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have fun no matter what.
Do you have dreams for yourself, like for your future? Hopes were, unfulfilled?
I am so simple. I want some land, but not a huge amount. And I just want like a basic little house. And I just want to be able to have that. And I want to have it for Pearl when she gets older. And I'd love to be able to travel a little bit, and I'm hoping that my physical work shifts into more energetic work as I get older, because I was trying to go back to school to get a further degree, to make more money, maybe work from home type stuff. But I can't now with Pearl. I'm doing everything I can, so just kind of having faith that what I do now will evolve into something that supports me as I get older. Yeah. Perhaps I'll get like a counseling degree or something, but I work a lot, and I feel like when she's in middle school and high school, she needs me at home when she's, not
Right,
off in
right,
school or
right,
off
right.
starting a new business or, anything that takes that kind
Yeah.
of energy. I finally hit a wall. I was going to California School of Verbal Studies. I was studying microbiology, involved in all this different stuff because I'm really interested in it. And I finally and it wasn't too much, except that it was for her, and it was getting in the way of our connecting and having time together. And I just realized I didn't want to be like my mom, and I didn't want to sacrifice our relationship for my own fear that I'm not going to have enough when I'm older, because I know that she will. And so just like focusing on not worrying about that, not worrying about the future, and just being really grateful in the moment.
Okay.
Yep. Having that faith, it'll all work out.
We've been told it will.
By who?
By Jesus.
Okay, well, I didn't get the memo, but
Well, there it is.
I'm just speaking from myself.
It's like would the creative force create something to fail? If like my faith is creation, the creative force, divinity is love, is peace, and
Yeah.
it only creates out of that.
Right. So if you stay in that place, you are creating way more opportunities for prosperity.
Right.
Yeah.
And the definition of prosperity kind of shifts from, at least it has for me, from the egotistical
Right.
kid.
Yeah. From the wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm simple. I'm okay as long as I want to be healthy, and I definitely need to have like a garden. It's that we're living precariously. We're illegal where we are, and we've been there for 5 years, and we can probably be there maybe another 5 years, but I don't want to be. And they might sell the property and stuff. So those are definitely, and I would make twice as much money if I was living in Marin, because all of my business is here. So
Is that from choice, or is it just the way it worked out?
it's just the way it worked out. I mean, I have clients up there, but it's just like my business is word of mouth here, and it's just been growing here. So it's just the way it worked out. I mean, I've been working at it for like 14 years.
Wow, really? That's how long you've been doing body work?
Well, I've been doing body work since I was 17.
Oh,
I
really?
just happened to do other stuff too. But then when I was doing it, I did it before Pearl was born. And then after I had her, it was really convenient to be able to do it because you make more money in less time,
And it's also
flexible
you could-
schedule.
Right, flexible.
but I just worked for myself. I've been working for myself since she was born. And then so I had a handful of clients before that, and they are the ones that were so supportive of me as a single mom, and being loyal customers and referring me out, and so that's been really beautiful to have to feel supported in that way in my business.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to touch upon?